All right, what's up, guys? Today's video is going to be for May 4th. Um, Last 2 weeks were fun. Traded MU kind of heavy. That was my big position going into tech earnings this week or this past week, going into S&DK earnings, and that kind of played out pretty well. So now it's just, can I manage going over the next couple weeks? Market's pretty extended. Not too many things are setting up with structure. So it's really just, can I chill? Can I protect myself? But yeah, the past 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago I had my best week ever, and then this week I beat it with my best week ever. So, the scaling's happening in real time. Don't ever hold yourself to a certain standard of what you can do in this market, because you asked me if I was making what I'm making now a year ago, I probably would have laughed in your face. So stay calm, stay collected, stay with the process, stick to what you know, go from there. Don't get lost in this market, chasing new highs and stuff like that. But with that being said, I'm in a decent spot where I can play with profits. But, even if you're not in that spot, this is still not a market to kind of toss money around. Where is their structure? Where has things maybe not moved as much as others? And, where can money maybe flow into this week? So that's what we're going to kind of be looking at. First, let's look at economic calendar, and we'll look at earnings calendar for this week. Economic calendar, FOMC was last week, but honestly, like I said to the Discord, I didn't think anything was going to really move off FOMC, especially when you have, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Apple, SNDK, all those earnings coming up within the next 2 days after. It's kind of hard for the market to move off economic data. That being said, though, this week, let's see. JOLTS Tuesday, probably the biggest one. Initial jobless claims Thursday, pretty big. Non-farm, pretty big on Friday. I say pretty big because, they used to move in the past, but again, still not really big movers, but they're there. Let's take a look at earnings. Let's look at next week. All right. Okay, Palantir Monday. VRTX, decent pharmaceuticals company, but nothing crazy. AMD, Anet, Shop, ETN, those are all going to be, well, at least Anet, AMD, ETN, those are all going to be players for that AI infrastructure theme. AMD should be big. KKR is pretty good. MSTR Tuesday as well. I'm already in those, so ideally, if you're not in them, I'm going to have those on my watch list. I'm going to watch them, but I actually do have some earnings plays to go over this call too, but MSTR probably not the best one for an earnings play, just because of usually what they do to the premium. They'll probably inflate it out the ass before earnings this week. But that's ideally what my play was. Playing MSTR last week off that, I believe it was 175 reclaim. We'll go over that though. But MSTR, keep an eye on. PayPal, nice. Nothing else crazy. Wednesday, ARM big, Disney big, APP, one of the earnings plays I might try. Uber, nice. Let's see what else. Axon, one of my long terms. That's really it. McDonald's Thursday. Melly Thursday. Not interested in too much. Datadog Thursday, VST Thursday. Those two are nice. When I say nice, I'm meaning just more aggressive long term. Companies that are making money. Okay, that's really it. Yeah, it seems like Tuesday's the big day. ARM I'll like on Wednesday, but Tuesday's definitely the big day with AMD, Anet, ETN. We'll see. All right, nothing too crazy, but just so you know they're there. All right. Let's take a look at SPY and QQQ first. I want to start with SPY. Let's take this off. All right, so, obviously, let me take this off and let's get some structure. Let's see if we even have any, what levels are we looking at here? So obviously blue levels are quarterly, purples are monthly, oranges or white, whatever, tan, those are going to be weekly levels. So obviously when we get through all-time highs, there's not going to be monthly levels. There's not going to be much quarterly levels. You got to go down to weeklies. So we do have one monthly now because of the month close last week. Let's get that. Do I even bother marking it? I'm not even going to bother marking the highs, but I am going to switch it to the highs. Let's do that. All right. Let's go down to the weekly. And let's get all these tags here just so we have a really clear picture of where this edge is going to be. All right. So first things first, we didn't tag that monthly on Friday. So, you know, SPY off that 719.79. When I say off of, not necessarily meaning up, but you know, you get that interaction. If it bounces with high volume, maybe it recovers. If it hits that level, gives a weak bounce and then starts breaking under, maybe that's that rejection play. But that 719.79 should give you a good interaction for a trade. That's ideally what I'll be looking for. Other than that, this weekly, you do start testing the 9 MA for the first time. So, you know, if it's a low volume pullback Monday and then maybe we get that tag Tuesday, that might be a good indication for higher. But again, nothing to go aggressive on here. This is just a quick day trade with that 719. Let's see QQQ. Let's do the same thing we just did. Let's delete that. Let's tag that new monthly. Let's make sure we tag the highs. Let's go back to the weekly. Let's get that out. Let's get one. If it's within $1 or $2, I usually don't mark them up. And I'll try to mark up the highs. So I do just want to switch that one. Is that a monthly there? Yeah, that's a mistake. All right. I apologize. Let's mark up that high. There we go. There we go. Let's mark up that high. Let's mark up that low. Let's mark up that low. Let's get that close. Okay. So now you know where is their confluence? So SPY in my opinion is going to test, you know, its support quicker than QQQ would, monthly support. So SPY tests and QQQ hasn't tested yet. That's going to give you more conviction for the upside, considering QQQ still has a support below that it's holding and hasn't tested yet. So that could also be your indication for a trade lower. You know, if SPY's basing under that 617, and then if QQQ starts cracking that 668.90 area, you know, that's when you can get that follow through to the downside to those next weeklies. But the structure is higher. You know, you really can't go heavy on risk, but you need to think logically like, okay, we're above the 9, we're above the 21, we're above the 50, we're trending higher. You need to be looking for calls on pullbacks. You really shouldn't be looking to short here until you get those indications. So yeah, look for those monthlies on SPY, QQQ, see which one tests first, wait for the confluence between the both of them. That should kind of help dictate where this market might want to go. Let's get into some 10-300 plays. So again, 10-300, that's if a stock gaps up 10% or more on a day, and it's over 300%, it's in 300% increase compared to their average volume from the last month. So, you know, you're looking for 3x relative volume necessarily. So these were the setups we got Friday. Take a look at them. Some of them we didn't get Friday, but FIVN, simply mark up high volume high, mark up high volume close, mark up high volume. You can mark up all of them, high volume low as well, high volume open. So simple play. Can this keep a tight structure for the next day or two? You know, the really strong ones are going to base in between here for a day and then pop the next day. So you can look for that. But even if this gives you, you know, 2 days in between this high volume open and close, and then you get that pivot break over that high volume high or high volume close, those are entries for longer. You know, you just want, you really the only reason you want that day or two, sometimes these go second day. And if you miss it, you miss it. Really the only thing you're looking for on that day or two is for this 9 MA to catch up. It's going to give you a little more structure on the trade. You know, drain out some of those buyers that are taking profit. Wait to see how the structure acts. Wait to see how the price acts. If it holds up, usually these are the plays that want to explode higher. So could give you a setup. TWLO, another one, had a really good earnings report. This one's just had a really good structure as well. You know, just really liquid. It looked really good on, I think it was the weekly. Yeah, really large base on this weekly. Earnings isn't growing. Ideally, you know, it's not really what you'd want to see, but you know, it's there. Volume was there. Setups there. Now it's, you know, what does the structure look like from here? You know, can it hold 176 quarterly while also holding, you know, that high volume close, that high volume open, and then this pivot right here though. The second I think this breaks over 183, that's going to be a shot for 200. So, you know, if it gives you a day or two base, you're looking at a really good play through that. If it happens tomorrow, it's a little more reason for a fake out. I'm not saying you get faked out, but you definitely can't size, you know, the same on a day two break rather than a base and then you kind of get that day one break all over again. So just chill on these. These are still these still need a couple days. BANDC, and then perfect example. This one did a 10-300 Thursday. Didn't even test a level. Gapped up above everything. Another 10-300 Friday. Those are going to happen. You know, that's what 10-300 offers, though. It's showing you, it's giving you a focus on stuff that's not only going up, but going up on meaningful volume. Volume that really shows you, you know, there's a bigger player here. So, you know, it's what you want to be a part of. It's what you look for in the market. This one might be a miss, but you know, same concept. Mark up the 10-300 again. See if it gives you that base. You know, you have no idea how high these can go. Reddit. So it's obviously more fun when names you're familiar with a little more do 10-300. You know, you understand how it trades a little more. Like Reddit already, I have levels set up on it already, so it's a little cleaner for me to understand. So you had a good little gap up off earnings, nice 10-300 print. And simple setup. You know, can this base over that 166? Can it stay under 173 for at least a day or two, and then give you that you know, proper low volume entry on a pivot higher, rather than just, you know, a blow through tomorrow, or sorry, Monday. NVT, similar thing. Day one, just watch it. Can this base? You know, gotta watch all these. You know, most people don't make money because they're not patient with, not even just with trades. You know, if you're an impatient trader but you're taking profit every time, you're still making money. But if you're impatient on, you know, watching a setup develop on your watch list, you're never going to catch anything. You know, if there's something that still hasn't broken what I wanted to break in terms of, you know, looking uglier and the setup not being there, I'm going to keep it on my watch list. Doesn't matter if it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever. You need to wait for the setup and watch it play out. You know, so, you know, patience is everything. Wait for these to play out, wait for them to fail, and then you can take them off. MXL, this thing's a beast. So this one did a 10-300 twice last week. Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. No, this was a 10-300 on Friday, and it did another one. So again, 10-300s can happen 3-4 times in a row. It's how momentum works. You know, you have no idea the power of the stock you're playing. So again, this one, I'm not really an individual setup here, but I'm just watching how does it play with all of these, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5 high volume pivots. You know, whether it's a high volume open, close, high, low, that really doesn't matter. It's a high volume pivot. You know, this is where price reacted off of in the recent past. So you have a play there. So, you know, ideally 67, 63.50, you start getting that risk to reward back. You know, if we get some sort of base in here and allows that 9 MA to catch up a little bit, you might get an entry there. But no setup as of now. Just gonna watch it. Same thing with this. No setup, but gave you the 10-300 day, gave you a close right above the level. You know, even if you weren't in it, it gave you a clean break through it again, where you could have, you know, targeted highs from previous day. Could be in runners right now, but just gonna watch this one, see how it acts. MSTR I had up, so 173 was that high volume pivot from its 10-300 day 2 weeks ago. So I'm already in it, but watch it. You know, if it does tank Monday and give you that 173.15 back test, play it. You know, maybe you get a run up into earnings. You don't even have to hold it into earnings, but you know, just an idea. You can play those high volume pivots. You just remember, you know, that's where liquidity is. That's where liquidity stopped. That's where it extended off of. Those are the levels, you know, you're going to have bigger, not even bigger players, bigger orders involved. You know, doesn't even necessarily have to be an institution or anything like that. Just bigger orders will be involved there. QCOM. So this one, all right, this one, and then, you know, you get to plays like this. You have a little bit more of a story. You had the 10-300 day. You have its first base. You can clearly see it respected 180. So in my opinion, you know, it's a little easier to say it because you've seen it so many times, but in theory, over 179.58 should go straight to 186.89. So it's a simple trade there. You know, in my opinion, 185 calls if it gets over 180. That's going to be a great trade for this week. You know, and you wait for it. If it doesn't break 179.58, don't touch it. You know, similar thing here. If it does dip and it tags 172, that was its high volume open. You could take a trade off of it and maybe you get 179 again. If it gets through there, nice. So those are all just simple pivots. You know, don't go into the day thinking, oh, I think it's going to go down today. Oh, I think it's going to go up today. Just play levels and understand if it's a 10-300 strategy, you're looking for calls. You're not looking to short 10-300 strategies. It's how the strategy is. So again, it's more of a process over emotion. So once you understand that, you'll make decisions a lot clearer. You'll start learning from them as well. So over 179 should go to 186. I'll be watching that. Apple, no direct setup, but I'm really liking this base. You know, you have the run up, you have the large liquidity move down, run up, large run up. I'd say aggressive as well. Aggressive run up back higher, almost taking the liquidity out. Slow trickle back down, held the support. Quick liquidity back up to the big all-time highs. If we can just get some sort of structure here, doesn't even have to be a dip to 271. Anything tight, I'll be looking for that breakout again. That volume was good. The run-up was good. Earnings report was great. So, you know, can we get some structure back? And I'll take that break. These are not 10-300s anymore as well. This is just normal setups I'll be watching. APP. So normally I don't take earnings trades, but, you know, and I'll look at the premium. This doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to take it, but, you know, APP has a good earnings report here. It has a shot at 545, 560. I'm not going to say 600, but it's certainly possible with what it's done in the past. So, you know, I'll be looking at Laudos. I'm going to see what they're pricing the 500s at, you know, come Monday. If they're over, if you're telling me the 500s are, which I know they're going to be, you know, if they're well over 50, 40, 30, it's probably going to be over 40. You know, that's a little pricey for a lotto trade, you know, because ideally anything going into earnings is going to be a lotto. So we'll see if I can do anything on APP, but, you know, we'll look at the premium. Setup's there, though. So even if I don't take an earnings trade, this is on my watch. You know, I will watch it after earnings for some sort of setup intraday. Fuel cell. So this is an interesting one, you know, with light, COHR, AOI, all reporting earnings this week. You know, it's not directly correlated to fuel cell energy, but it's in that theme. So if they do pop, you can almost assume, you know, fuel cell might get some love as well. So I marked up the 10-300 pivot. You have the high volume high volume open, high volume low down here. Ideally, I'm just looking for any other structure under this high volume high, and I'll take that second break. Really light size, you know, maybe I'll look at like 15 calls, 15 strike, maybe like a week or two out. Just go something small, simple. That could be a little way to play. I wouldn't say it's a way to play optoelectronics earnings, but just watch it. This could be in 10-300 actually. Whoopsies. Let's put that there. PL just has decent structure here. So if I just mark this up, you have a clear channel forming. So now it's, you know, how does this act here, and where is your risk to reward going to be better? So if I mark this and I mark that, decent channel. So coming off of the bottom of that range, but, you know, this was 10-300. These two candles right here, that was 10-300 day. So not only do you have a base off a channel, reclaim of the 9, reclaim of the 21, you're also having the reclaim of a high volume, high pivot from 10-300 day. So PL is not bad. PL gets over that 37 or whatever Friday's highs were. You know, you figure 40's on the table off that 9MA if space can get some love. You know, ASTS is lower. Rocket Lab didn't have a really good week last week, so could be where money goes into. You know, SpaceX IPO is only getting closer. But just a thought. So I would watch PL off that 36. What is this? 36.63. Yeah. TMDX. This is my other earnings shot. So I'm probably definitely going to take this. So this is one, and it happens ever so often. It's no different than, let's look at MU, for example. It's no different than MU right here, and, and look at what MU did. Like, this is a very important thing. It's a very important thing. So right here, MU reports possibly one of the best earnings reports I've ever seen, ever. And what does it do after? It's fucking hammered. So, in the back of my mind, it's funny, in the back of my mind that during that whole sell-off, and I bought shares. I bought shares on MU after that report. I think my average was like 440, 450. So, I put my money where my mouth is. But, every day this thing was going lower, you just think, why? There's, math doesn't lie. Math does not lie. So understand that the market always presents those inefficiencies, and it's one thing to hold a bag that just drops every day, then it makes no money. It's got a 300 PE ratio, and it's there's warning signals for that stuff. But a stock like this, I think MU has the same market cap as AMD, and it's going to make more this year than AMD is making in the next 10 years. So just like hear that. That something's fundamentally wrong here. Someone's missing something, or there's a bigger player holding it down, to do something else. So MU reports, you get the sell-off, you get the complete recovery. TMDX is in a different spot. So let me see. That is not TMDX. There's TMDX. Look at TMDX earnings. Growing every quarter, significantly as well. Not lightly. I know it looks like small on this perspective here, but this is significant growth every single year, and price is kind of getting, it's almost a complete divergence from what it's reported. So where was that last report actually? Can we see it here? Boom, boom, boom. Was it there? Yeah, I think it was. They had a great report and sold off after. Absolutely. So similar theme. The only difference between MU and TMDX is MU already recovered, relatively quickly after its earnings. TMDX has kind of been dragged down this whole time. But I think they're going to have another blowout quarter. There's a couple things here making me want to long as well. So if you go here, simple Fibonacci, tag the low, tag the high. That 0.79, which is the ideal pullback range, lined up exactly, not only exactly with a quarterly level, but clearly TMDX has been respecting it for the past 3 days. So I'm going to be looking to go long on Monday. Ideally, best case scenario, when's TMDX earnings? May 5th. So you're looking at Tuesday. Best case scenario, I take this Monday and I get that move higher, and then I hold into Tuesday. Is it aftermarket or before market? It's aftermarket, so I have Tuesday as well. Ideally, maybe I go full size with the idea of selling 70 to 80% ahead of earnings, if I can get that earnings run up. But I do want a couple contracts for earnings, and I'll be looking at probably 125s, maybe 120 strike, but again, I'll see what the premium's priced at. I don't take a lot of earnings trades at all, at all. Maybe really never, maybe like 1 or 2 a year, 3 a year, 4 a year. I don't even know. It's really not a lot. So I'm going to give it a shot. I think this one can go off a good report, but again, no reason to size to the wall. It's still an earnings trade. I'm going to be sizing probably 20% of what a full size would be if I was taking a normal day trade. So just something to note, but certainly possible to see 130 again, maybe higher. Last setup. Sorry, that was a lot on TMDX, but last setup here, ASML, just a tight structure down. That's all it's in. It's in a really nice structure down, really low volume off this whole pop. So any pivot break over that 1450, I'm going long with 1500s, probably 2 weeks out. And then we can play that 9 MA stop loss, or even if you get that first initial, $10, $15 pop off 1450, you just make 1450 your stop loss pivot. But I really like this. It looks ugly, but this is really structured, and it's really low on volume. It's showing me sellers just got drained. So any pop here, not only are you breaking structure, but you have a really good chance of volume following with it. So we'll see. You know, market's been moving too, and ASML kind of got no love. So we'll see if money wants to go there. But yeah, a lot of 10-300 setups, decent normal trades to take. You know, a couple swings, couple day trades. But end of the day, I don't see really anything here. ASML might be the best in terms of structure and risk to reward and the most information. And what else? QCOM's not bad because you have a really clear pivot. But other than those two, like the rest are still, you know, in terms of what an A+ setup is, these are not, you know, top notch here. So just chill. They're playable. They're good, but no reason to size balls to the wall. So just chill and see what happens this week. But yeah, trade smart. See you boys later.